Right, on your screen, visuals of the vice presidential nominee of NDA getting ready to file his nomination papers. You can see the Prime Minister, the Defence Minister, the President of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and also if you look behind Mr. Dhankar, BJD's Pinaki Mishra is also visible. Why that is significant, Nitin Gadkari too, why the presence of Pinaki Mishra, who's just walking out of the frame, is significant, is because BJD waited to know who the opposition's vice presidential candidate is going to be, and then came out and declared its support to Mr. Dhankar. The nomination papers there being filed. Anupriya Patel, the other ally, and also Parliamentary Affairs Minister, Agriculture Minister. So the full display of strength there as the papers are being filed by the former West Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankhar for the position of Vice President. As the Vice President of India, he will not only be, the number 2 as far as the topmost constitutional position is concerned, he will also chair the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, which has been the center for a lot of acrimony. Pallavi Ghosh is with me. Pallavi, we are seeing these pictures. The Prime Minister himself present there, the Raksha Mantri present there, the other alliance partners. So it's a show of strength really as the nomination papers for Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar get filed.
But naturally it will be a show of strength because obviously they're going to flaunt the fact that they have chosen someone who is also going to make a very deep political message, and also someone who's already started getting support from other political parties. I mean, you mentioned the BJD, but yesterday we saw a statement from the AIA-DMK. We also saw a statement which came in from YSR Congress already pledging their support for Jagdeep Dhankhar. So in terms of sheer numbers, it's never been a problem. But I think the story is beyond the numbers. The story is the break in opposition unity, showing how fragile it is. The story is also about the fact that whether there's going to be a certain amount of cross-voting which is going to take place. Jagdeep Dhankhar, we've always been putting out his bio. He's a lawyer. He's been a governor, of course. He is a governor of West Bengal. He's an administrator. He has that kind of an experience. He's also supposed to have a very good sense of humor. So he just carries on the legacy of Venkaiah Naidu over there. And certainly in him, the BJP hopes to see a semblance of order in Rajya Sabha, or at least if not that order, at least to try and send out this message to the opposition that they cannot run the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, just because they have more numbers than the government. At the end of the day, critical bills will have to be passed. And that is something which Jagdeep Dhankhar is going to be his biggest challenge.
Right. Maria Shakil, our political editor, also with us. Maria, what ultimately went in favor of Jagdeep Dhankhar? We had heard all kinds of names from Arif Mohammad Khan to Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi to even perhaps a Sikh candidate. But ultimately, Jagdeep Dhankar's choice. Were you surprised? Why him?
Yes. Yes, Arunima, did come as a surprise to many, but that is quintessential BJP, where they have political calculations which are very difficult to decipher in many ways. As far as Jagdeep Dhankar's nomination or name is concerned, we heard what Mr. Nadda, who is the BJP president, had to say, that he is the Kisan Putra. That is the way he introduced him in that press conference that was held soon after the BJP parliamentary board got over. So the message in this is that Jagdeep Dhankhar stood with the BJP central leadership, even as the governor of Bengal. There are speculation of some secret meeting that took place between Himanta Biswa Sarma, Mamata Banerjee, and Mr. Dhankhar in Darjeeling as well before the name was announced. But I think it's less about symbolism here, Arunima. It's not about any first as far as Mr. Dhankhar is concerned. He, of course, upheld the important constitution office as the governor of West Bengal. He was very vociferous in his objections to Mamata Banerjee's policies and also post-poll violence that unfolded in Bengal. But he is also seen as someone who stood his ground. So did that go in his favor? Because as far as running the upper house of parliament, the Rajya Sabha is concerned, it is about the challenges, also about reaching out to the other side, reaching not just ensuring that the opposition is on board, but ensuring that the house functions. So that is the big challenge for Jagdeep Dhankhar. So I think it's more to do with political calculation. Does the BJP understand here that the going forward, the TMC number in the Rajya Sabha is going to increase, and Mr. Dhankar understands how the TMC as a political party functions, and he will be able to counter their belligerence and ensure that the House functions. So I think it's more to do with political calculation and less to do with symbolism as far as the nomination of Jagdeep Dhankhar is concerned. But on our television screens, the entire strength of the NDA, the top leaders of the BJP, along with the Prime Minister, Home Minister Amit Shah, the BJP President present in that nomination, also Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and NDA allies, Apna Dal Chief, you can see all of them present in that nomination paper which has been filed by Jagdeep Dhankhar right now in Parliament of India.
Right, but I just saw the Prime Minister also sign some papers. He's being the proposer. The significance of that, Prime Minister of India signing the papers, the nomination papers for the vice presidential candidate?
Yes, Arunima, we have seen that as well in the case of Draupadi Murmu. The Prime Minister was the first proposer, and he accompanied all the other party leaders, top ministers, and NDA allies. All of them were present when the nomination of Draupadi Murmu was filed, and now we are seeing the Prime Minister being the first proposer also in the case of Jagdeep Dhankhar. So the message certainly is that in his selection also, the name being proposed, the Prime Minister has played an important role. But Arunima, yes, it did come as a surprise because everybody was trying to guess whether the nomination of the Vice President as far as the NDA is concerned, will it be high on symbolism? This is not high on symbolism, but I think this is pure political calculations, keeping in mind that TMC's numerical strength in the Rajya Sabha and also understanding fully well the role that was played by Jagdeep Dhankhar as the governor of West Bengal.
Right. Maria, do hold on. I'm also hoping Pallavi will be back with us. But Siddhant Mishra is also live with me from Vichichok. Siddhant, we're still seeing the visuals of the nomination papers being proposed, being processed. With this, the vice presidential elections will also be set in motion. But on the other hand, the opposition candidate, Ms. Alva, is also expected to file her papers today itself. If you can fill us in on the challenges of Jagdeep Dhankhar.
Well, that's correct. And you see, these are the two latest announcements made by Bharatiya Janata Party. One, picking Ms. Murmu for the president's post and Jagdeep Dhankhar for vice president's post. Now, both have served as governors of two various states of the country, and both have been rewarded by party for being people's governor. These both Mr. Dhankar and Ms. Murmu were could be seen against the incumbent government. Mr. Murmu refused to sign two acts which were passed by Raghubar Das government in 2016, and Jagdeep Dhankhar is somebody seen as people's governor because he is someone who has always spoken against Mamata Banerjee's administration, and in fact, both Raj Bhavan and Mamata Banerjee's office, always were at loggerheads with each other as far as issues of West Bengal is concerned.
So I have to interject because we are just seeing visuals of the nomination process being completed. The visuals on your screen, Prime Minister shaking the hands of the vice presidential nominee Jagdeep Dhankhar. He accepting the greetings from all present. It's a big moment, Pallavi, for Jagdeep Dhankhar, from the governor of West Bengal to the journey of being the vice president, the chairperson of Rajya Sabha as well. We have been discussing why Jagdeep Dhankhar. One of the factors that have also been mentioned perhaps is the Rajasthan poll politics. He coming from a Jat background.
Yes, he's a Jat leader from Rajasthan. That's also going to be one messaging. Apart from the permutation and combinations inside, inside the Rajya Sabha, the BJP is pretty confident of Rajasthan. But, that's the way the BJP works. The BJP doesn't want to leave any stone unturned. There were many during UP elections who were actually speculating that the Jats would turn their back to them because of the farm laws, agitation, so on and so forth. And we saw what happened with the results. They also want the same kind of a calculation calculation to also work out as far as Rajasthan goes, and therefore the choice of Jagdeep Dhankhar, a Jat leader from Rajasthan, is also very interesting. Also very interesting, if I may add over here, is that Margaret Alva also has been a governor of Rajasthan, and she of course comes from Karnataka, where again the BJP versus Congress battle is pretty fierce over there. But just to come back to the importance of Jagdeep Dhankhar, it just goes on to show that when the BJP chooses a particular name, they also want to send out a deep down political message. In the case of Draupadi Murmu, we know the kind of messaging they are trying to send out. But when they choose Jagdeep Dhankhar, it also goes on to show that a confrontation we often saw between him and West Bengal government did have the tacit support coming in from the center, because the BJP has repeatedly made the point that when it comes to post-poll violence in West Bengal, when it comes to targeting of the BJP leaders in West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee has done nothing much to it. In fact, she's actually encouraged it. And every time Jagdeep Dhankhar would fly down to Delhi, and you know that when you cover the Home Ministry, the kind of complaints which would go to and come from the Home Ministry, that's where Jagdeep Dhankhar played a very critical role. I don't think it's fair to say his performance inside Rajya Sabha is going to be restricted only to between him and the TMC. I mean, you know, when you sit on that chair, your task is cut out. You have to ensure there's a semblance of order in the House, bills are passed. Venkaiah Naidu, in fact, today also talked about the way one needs to conduct the House and the things which every member of Parliament has to do. I think Jagdeep Dhankhar will send out that very firm message because of the kind of experience and the eyeballs he grabbed in West Bengal, that I'm going to be firm on this. I'm going to try and show the mirror to the members of Parliament, which also could mean that there would be a full-on confrontation between the opposition and the new Vice President.
So just to take on that, before I let you go, already day one of this session, adjournment right at the beginning in Upper House. When Jagdeep Dhankhar takes that chair, like you were pointing out, Venkaiah Naidu, irrespective of the legacy that he's leaving behind about suspension, has only heard good things from the opposition benches. Jagdeep Dhankhar, when he comes in, will he be greeted with that kind of affection, with that kind of respect, or is he just looking at a roller coaster ride ahead?
I think in respect, of course, yes, because at the end of the day, he's the chair and you have to respect the chair. That's parliamentary norm and they're going to welcome him on that. Whether they are going to love him or they're going to like him, well, I don't think that word can be used for the Trinamool Congress, certainly. Which is why I think there could be a slice or a reflection of the politics we saw of confrontation in West Bengal very much there in Rajya Sabha. I mean, if the Vice President is going to take shots at the Trinamool Congress, there's going to be a very strong rebuttal from them. And I'm sure Derek O'Brien is going to use every opportunity, just as his party colleagues will be, to try and remind Jagdeep Dhankhar how he misused his chair, to use the words of the TMC, while he was the governor of West Bengal. Look, a certain amount of confrontation always takes place between the chair and whoever sits in the opposition. It was there during the UPA times. It's become acrimonious even more so. And I think the way the day began today in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, but more in Rajya Sabha because over there it was very, very, fierce, I would say, just goes on to show in Rajya Sabha the opposition gets its strength from its numbers. I mean, till now the numbers are certainly more than that of the BJP. And therefore, I think they're going to try and use every opportunity to try and hit back at the BJP and the Prime Minister specifically.
All right. Pallavi Ghosh, Siddhant and Maria, thank you so much for joining us. We will continue to keep our focus on what's happening there inside the Parliament House. But let's shift focus to Maharashtra politics. News just comes in.